to benefit disadvantaged Brookline children. Donations are being accepted until Wednesday, December 18th. Unwrapped gifts are the donation of choice. And they can be dropped off in the mailroom or the print shop in the basement of Town Hall, in the Health Department, in the Veterans Office, in the first floor of the Police Department, or at the Council on Aging. So thank you very much to all those who have participated in the past.
Okay. Any other comments or updates? No? Public comment. Anyone in the public looking to comment? Okay. Jesse, go ahead. Do you want to start? You come up to the microphone so we can capture your image on TV. Yeah.
All right, so my name is Jesse Gray. I'm a town meeting member for Precinct 10, and I'm a member of the town's non-public buildings working team as established by Zoe Lynn, who was then the town's sustainability program administrator, and that was in the wake of the climate summit that Zoe organized. I want you to consider how far we've come on sustainability. In the span of less than a year, we've energized our community in the service of sustainability. In just one example of many, we passed by a vote of 210 to 3 the most significant prohibition on new fossil fuel infrastructure in the nation. We could not have done this without Zoe Lynn. We could not have done it without her expertise in mediation, negotiation, conflict resolution, and sustainability. We also could not have done this without you, without your leadership in establishing the Sustainability Program Administrator as the first full-time sustainability staff person in our town. Of course, as is expected in sustainability, where we are trailblazing, we didn't do everything right the first time. We hired Zoe Lynn, and that was a fantastic decision. We didn't give her the resources, though, to make the position itself sustainable. In particular, we didn't place her high enough in the administration to enable her to efficiently implement climate solutions. That is on us, not on her, and that is the one thing that we need to fix right now. If I were in your shoes as board members and as town administrator, and by the way, thank you for serving, so that I am not in your shoes. I know you have a very hard job. But if I were in your shoes at this moment in history, I would want my legacy to include sustainability. I hope you agree. But how can we achieve that goal together if the one sustainability staff member we have doesn't report directly to you, doesn't report to a department head, but is buried in the administration? How can we expect that person to tackle a wicked problem? As you know, Zoe Lynn resigned, and from working with her over the past few months and from the town administrator's letter today, this afternoon, thank you for sending, I have the sense that she resigned because we didn't give her the resources and in particular the authority to make her own position sustainable. With respect, we respect what the town administrator wrote in the letter sent out this afternoon, but as town meeting members and working team members, we still would like to know, while there's still time, why it has been deemed impractical and not in the interest of the town to reconsider Zoe Lynn's resignation. We'd like to know what's the barrier to getting her back and what would it take to reconsider her resignation. Why not provide the authority the position requires now, before Zoe Lynn moves on, since we need to offer someone that authority anyway? All Zoe wanted is exactly what we're about to do as a town anyway. For example, one possible outcome here is that we create a sustainability department of one. Why not just do it now, when we have the opportunity to retain institutional memory, momentum, and to get sustainability work done over the coming months? Why not meet with her one last time, town administrator and select board chair, to make sure there isn't something simple that would fix this? Because we are not talking about an average public servant, we are talking about an extraordinary public servant, a public servant that is capable of securing the kind of legacy on climate and sustainability that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cunningham, did you want to speak? Oh, okay. Well,
Hi, I'm Diane Sokol, member of Mothers Out Front team in Brookline, and you're by now very familiar with my concerns about gas leaks in Brookline. I wanted to speak very briefly tonight about yesterday's manhole explosions on Route 9. That's right around the corner from where I live on Cypress Street. and it's literally in the backyards of many of my friends and neighbors in our close Milton Road neighborhood. I know that an investigation is underway to determine the actual cause or causes of these explosions, but what we know already is that there are many documented gas leaks along Route 9, and anyone who drives along Route 9 can smell the gas leaks inside a closed car. Even if it was an electrical explosion, the idea of an electrical explosion in an area of known gas leaks is very disconcerting, to say the least. We're lucky that this explosion on Route 9 during rush hour did not result in any injuries. But how much longer must we wait for National Grid to fix these gas leaks? I was not home at the time of the explosions. I arrived home about half an hour later to see blue lights, red lights, and mayhem in the neighborhood and helicopters overhead. This is what I heard from a neighbor who was home with 2 young boys at the time of the explosions. He wrote to me, "Our 10-year-old son was very scared. The 11 and 8-year-old boys across the street were seriously shaken and fled their house with their grandmother. At a minimum, it disrupted our evening. At worst, it's mildly traumatizing. Thankfully, there were no injuries or damage from it, but our windows shook from the first explosion, and I physically felt the second explosion outside. I've been at battle reenactments, and it was very much like cannons they use, but much more intense." We need to get National Grid to assess, prioritize, and fix these gas leaks before we have another incident like last night. And again, I'm not saying that the cause was necessarily a gas explosion, but it was on Route 9, and we know there are a lot of gas leaks on Route 9. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Lisa?
Good evening. My name is Lisa Cunningham. I'm a town meeting member from Precinct 15. I'm also a member of Mothers Out Front, and I was also on the non-public buildings working committee that was formed at the climate workshop in the spring. I wanted to talk about Zoe Lynn and ask the select board and the town administrator to look at this issue carefully and reconsider her resignation. I don't want to repeat all of Jesse's comments. I want to just acknowledge what he said and say that I echo all of them. I want to say, first of all, thank you for all the hard work that you guys have done and all your support. I really appreciate it. I also want to say that we have made a giant step forward in Brookline in establishing this position, and that we need to keep moving forward as quickly as possible. That is because we have a climate crisis unfolding, and we cannot lose any time. Secondly, we have an extraordinary individual whose services we have benefited from. Zoe's contributions are unique, and in my mind, irreplaceable. She's made an incredible contribution to the town. She's established networks, working teams, and she's also set an example to everybody in the town of a fantastic way to partner between town meeting members, staff, and also the general town community. I'd like to know if it would be, I think that in establishing this position, a great step forward was made, but I think that the position was not correctly classified. And I think that what I see unfolding now is that due to our experience, we will now make changes that we could have made, or we could make immediately and still possibly retain Zoe's services. So I'm wondering why we can't provide that authority now instead of losing time, losing money, and losing the momentum and the goodwill that we've actually established throughout the town. And I'm also wondering if any of you would like the opportunity to address this question that we have posed.
Anyone? Staffing matters are in the hands of the town administrator. your proposals with respect to going forward in terms of the policy with respect to this position will be considered by the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none. Question of approving the following select board minutes. Can we hold November 5 and 12? I think both me and Nancy are concerned about some of the issues in those those minutes, and I have not had a chance to read those. Any problem? No? Okay.
Sure.
How about October 29? I'm willing to approve that. Okay. All in favor of approval of October 29? I assume no one has any edits to that? Please indicate by saying aye. Mr. Franco?
Aye.
Ms. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Fernandez?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Question of approving the following appropriation transfer within the Public Works budget.
19th on there also?
Yeah,
Pardon me?
I think we had another date there. It's, I'm looking at something, 19?
Oh, 19. Well, we'll put that up.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, appropriation transfer within the Public Works budget from, a bunch of numbers, permanent full-time, $69,000 to trucks. And from permanent full-time position, $21,000 to motor equipment. Commissioner Sturgeon, pardon?
Yeah, repair and maintenance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I
Before
have
you
no
is
one.
the request for an appropriation transfer
Oh, maybe
within the
yours is-
Department of Public Works. The transfer is to replace
Yours
a
is-
one-ton dump truck with a snowplow that was destroyed by fire at the end of the last snow season in January. And then this year, at the end of October, we had to sustain the loss of a backhoe loader that was damaged by an electrical fire. That piece of equipment at least is salvageable, but it will take $21,000 to repair it. The cost of the dump truck with the plow was $69,000. Both pieces of equipment are essential for our snow removal operations. This year, because of vacancies within our roadways element of the Highway and Sanitation Division, we are projecting a surplus through the end of the fiscal year. And the surplus is sufficient with a cushion to fund both transfers within the department without seeking a reserve fund transfer. So I respectfully ask that you approve this transfer. It's essential that we expedite the repair and replacement of both of these units so that we can get them back into service. My fear is, based on what happened at the beginning of this week, that we're in for a long, hard, cold, snowy winter, unlike last year. So I'd like to go into it with full armament if I could.
Okay, any questions? No? I move approval of the appropriations within the Public Works budget. All in favor, Mr. Franco?
Aye.
Ms. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Fernandez?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Reserve fund transfer request. Question of approving a reserve fund transfer in the amount of $65,565 for emergency repairs at the Lars Anderson Ice Skating Rink refrigeration facility, and to transmit the request to the advisory committee for their subsequent approval. Ms. Galantine.
Good evening, Erin Galantine, Director of Parks and Open Space. So we are respectfully requesting this reserve fund transfer in the amount of $65,565. The town of Brookline owns and operates an outdoor skating rink at Lars Anderson Park. It's been in operation since the 1950s. It has a ammonia refrigeration system that cools a calcium chloride brine that flows underneath the concrete slab that enables us to control the temperature and make ice for recreational skating. On Thursday, November 28th, Thanksgiving morning, we got a automated alarm that there was a mechanical problem with a flow sensor at the rink. My operations manager and a technician from American Refrigeration went on site. They were there around 7:30 in the morning. I received a phone call. We talked about it. They thought it was going to be a very simple replacement of that flow switch. And in opening up the brine system, they got a whiff of ammonia. The technician immediately started doing diagnostics on the system, and ultimately it revealed that there was a breach inside the chiller. That means that ammonia had leaked into the brine. It was totally enclosed, so this is a closed loop system. There was no release to the environment, but it was critical that we mobilize to make repairs as soon as possible. So I was on the phone with American Refrigeration. They were trying to locate the supplies, and they came in Saturday to do the repairs on the chiller itself. And we're looking to make repairs on the brine side of the system in the coming week. So this was really critical for several reasons. One, it is our outdoor skating rink, and obviously we wanted to open the facility for the public. Not making this repair would mean no ice skating rink. But more importantly, had we not fixed this in a timely manner, we would have done more damage to the network of pipes within the system and potentially lost the entire refrigeration system, and ultimately potentially compromised it enough to have environmental exposure. So we felt that it was critical. I provided you with the estimate that we have from American Refrigeration. We've provided also a $15,000 contingency because we don't have all of the numbers yet for the ammonia and the brine disposal costs that we had to bleed from the system in order to crack open the chiller and do the repairs. I will say the chiller repair was successful, and we opened the rink on Sunday at noon for public skate.
Any questions?
Is ammonia a corrosive agent?
Ammonia is corrosive.
Okay.
So
So if you had let it sit, then it would have compromised the
Absolutely.
Integrity of the pipes.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we think actually that that is the reason why we got the flow sensor fault alarm.
So this system's over 60 years old. Is it up to modern standards in terms of, toxicity of the refrigerant, whatever, factors you look at?
So the rink itself has been at Lars Anderson Park since the 50s, but it has had components replaced over time. The chiller and kind of refrigeration package was replaced in 2006, 2007.
So fairly modern.
Fairly modern. The life expectancy of a chiller is about 15 to 20 years. So we would be planning out. We would think that would have a breach in 13 years, but according to American Refrigeration, there's no diagnostic that you can do on that. It's a closed vessel, and it does happen. They'll see it on chillers that are 5 years old, 10 years old, or they might have a chiller that's 30 years old and doesn't have a breach of this nature, but they deal with these types of repairs frequently.
And the winter of 2015 was like 3 winters in one.
Right.
Right.
And there's,
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
For the waste brine and the ammoniated water, safe to assume there's a plan to dispose of this safely without environmental impact and otherwise?
That's correct. They're currently stored in our hazardous waste storage area at the transfer station, and they'll be disposed of by Clean Harbors.
By who?
Clean Harbors.
That's the company. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I move approval of a reserve fund transfer request in the amount of $65,565 for emergency repairs at the Lars Anderson Ice Skating Rink refrigeration facility. And we will, of course, transmit the request to the advisory committee for their subsequent approval. All in favor? Mr. Franco?
Aye.
Ms. Hamilton?
Hi.
Mr. Fernandez?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Approval for hire, Health Department. Question of authorizing the filling of a vacancy in the position of a chief sanitarian, assistant director in the Department of Health and Human Services. Dr. Jett.
Good evening, Health Commissioner Dr. Swanee Jett. Good evening, Select Board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I look for approval to hire replacement for Pat Maloney, who has retired after 38 years
Wow.
of service, 35 within Brookline. He's actually now working 2 days a week for us until we can fill vacancies.
Big shoes to fill.
Yes,
I
it
worked
is.
with Mr. Maloney on a couple of projects, and yeah, he was always very, very helpful. So, any questions? So Chief Sanitarian is also another title that he
Yeah,
uses.
so this person leads the environmental department, is a registered sanitarian.
That's a fancy name for it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So, any other questions? So I move approval of authorizing the filling of a vacancy in the position of Chief Sanitarian Assistant Director in the Department of Health and Human Services. All in favor? Mr. Franco?
Aye.
Ms. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Chair votes aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Boards and commissions appointments. Do we have any? Mike?
We have the Transportation Board.
Okay, it's not on my, sorry, I'm still using 2000 or
Is that-
20th century paper.
Does that appear on people's appointment agenda, number 7?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So this one is, do you want me to
Yeah.
move forward with this? So we have the Transportation Board, which is up this evening, and the board has done a lot of interviewing over the last several weeks. There are 3 slots that are available to be appointed or reappointed on this board. One is vacancy, and 2 are expiring terms. And the two incumbents for those expiring terms are interested in reappointment. So, but including them, there are 7 applicants for these 3 slots, including the two reappointments. My understanding, my information is that Casey or UY is no longer an applicant. Is that?
She never came before us. I think
Right.
she withdrew.
So she withdrew. So we've got 7 slots for these 3 available positions, and this is unusual for us, and I don't want to start without maybe asking the board, how do you want to proceed? What's the easiest way for you to consider these applicants for these limited terms?
Okay, so we have 2 reappointments, so that's separate. And
Well,
are
there-
there 3 openings for the new applicants?
No, it's 3 altogether. So, the reappointments obviously don't have any guarantee of reappointment, so they're in the mix with all the other, so they're part of the 7.
How do you want to do it? Any
So,
ideas?
why don't we try to fill the vacancy first? And then we'll take the reappointments and then see whether or not we have enough votes for the reappointments.
I think we should do the reappointments first, don't you?
Okay,
Yeah.
we could do that.
And then, I mean, what do other people think? I mean, this is going to be difficult, but, so why don't we go down the list, and people should identify their 3 choices, and as we go by each person, people can vote, on the person if they're on their list of choices. That make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so I will list them as they appear on our
Let's figure out who we want.
material. Yeah, so take your time. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Oh, this is hard. I mean, there's a lot of good people here. Okay, everyone ready?
So I guess I'll just go down the list. Heather?
Oh,
Is that-
Each person gives 3.
Is that what you tell me how you want to do it. I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable position.
Well, I was thinking that you'd ask for votes for Mr. Capoose
Okay,
first, and
all right.
then everyone would tell.
All right, so
It's going to be awkward no matter
yeah,
how we do
either
it.
way, it's a tough
Read the
one.
names and-
So I'm going to read the names, and then maybe we can just go down
Yeah.
the list, and I'll record them. Jonathan Capoust.
aye.
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 Cynthia Lee,
Nay.
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 Linda Pelkey,
Aye.
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 Mitchell Heineman,
Nay.
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 Elena Huisman,
Nay.
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 Hemant Beatty,
Nay.
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 Corinne Gibbs.
Aye.
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 That was hard. We had a few very good people that
Yeah.
voted nay on, but
So Mr. Kapust and Linda Pelkey and Corinne Gibbs are the three members of the board you've appointed this evening.
And there are 2 positions up next year. And we will get to them before December.
December of next year.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the question of which one gets the unexpired and which one gets the complete term.
Well, we'll probably, flip a coin, if nothing else. And there's no reason why one over the other that I can think
We'll
of.
talk to both of them and see which one is comfortable, maybe doing like the 6-month term, and which one wants to do the 3-year.
Okay. Any warrant articles for reconsideration? Melissa? Okay. Okay. Seeing no further business, I adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thanks.